My first Kingdom Hearts playthrough lasted for weeks. I don't mean it took me weeks to beat the game. I spent weeks on Destiny Island, the tutorial island. I was still by that raft. I played it on a PS2 in my basement on this big CRT TV, and I was completely confused. I don't remember the exact thing that kept me there, I just remember I couldn't get out. And somehow, I still love playing it. I loved running around and fighting the other kids with a wooden sword. The water, the music, the way Sora moved. It all made me feel like something enormous was waiting on the other side of this little island. I didn't know exactly when this basement playthrough started, but I was pretty young. My older brother eventually had to come in and help me get off the island. And I did progress a little bit when I was still young, but when I was a teenager, I came back and I actually got much farther. That was when I finally saw how much game existed beyond the island I had apparently been renting. But the strange part is, Kingdom Hearts had already worked on me. I loved it before I understood where to go. I definitely loved it before I understood the story. So I wanted to go back to that first game, not the giant timeline that came after it. The original PS2 game, how it was made, what it looked like to people in 2002, and why being lost in it is still one of my favorite memories. Destiny Islands is not huge. It has a beach, a dock, a little tree house, a waterfall, some platforms, and a cave where 3 children have been scribbling on a wall. That is about it. But if you don't know what you're doing, it can become your entire summer home. The opening gives you chores for the raft. You talk to Kairi, gather supplies, find food, spar with the other kids, race Riku, and slowly learn how Sora moves. I apparently focus very heavily on that slowly part. But I remember liking the controls. Sora could run, jump, grab ledges, climb ladders, pick things up, and swing a wooden sword in midair. On an island this small, that was enough to keep me busy. I was so bad at this game that its tiny tutorial map started feeling enormous. By the time my older brother helped me figure out how to leave, I had spent weeks learning a tutorial I could not finish. And I feel a little better about my confusion now, because the game was doing this to adults too. In April 2002, months before the North American release, GameSpot previewed Destiny Islands and already complained that the camera made hidden items hard to find, the jumping took practice, tight spaces could trap the camera in a terrible angle. When the finished game was reviewed, the instructions weren't always clear. The reviewer described running into dead ends and wandering until the next event finally happened. So yes, I was a very young kid, but Kingdom Hearts was also occasionally giving directions like a person who was already starting to walk away from you. The island made that confusion feel okay. It was sunny and calm. The water had bright early 2000s blue that always lives in my memories because of Super Mario Sunshine and Wind Waker. Those games all felt enormous to me, but at the beginning I was happy just running near the water. Then the sky goes dark. The wooden sword that worked on your friends does nothing to the heartless. The beach you've been wandering for hours suddenly feels wrong, and the island disappears. It is easy now to see Kingdom Hearts as this huge thing. You can buy collections that put most of the series in one place. There are timeline videos, lore summaries, wikis, and people who can explain the difference between a nobody and a heartless without looking scared. In 2002, people were just trying to understand the commercial. The original ad is incredible, because it has to sell the full idea in about 30 seconds. It jumps from Disney to anime hair to enormous key. Simple and Clean is playing. A dark voice starts talking like it has been waiting inside your television. Then the Squaresoft logo appears. Sure, bring this home to your kid. The magazine and press kits were full of images that looked impossible together. Sora and Donald, Cloud and Hercules, a giant shadow standing on stained glass. Official US PlayStation Magazine even made Kingdom Hearts the face of its October 2002 disc. Square opened an English website with trailers and sweepstakes, where the winner could get their name put into the game. The winner became Kurt Ziza, an optional boss in the Aladdin world. That is an unbelievable prize. Congratulations, you're now a giant snake machine that will ruin somebody's afternoon. The part of Kingdom Hearts I remembered most clearly was the part its creators started with too: movement. Tatsuya Nomura said the idea went back to Super Mario 64. He was working on Final Fantasy VII when he saw a fully 3D game where you could run around freely. He wanted to make something with that same kind of movement. People at Square told him a new character could not compete with Mario. He would need somebody as recognizable as Disney. Then the opportunity to work with Disney appeared, and Nomura put his hand up. There's a story that Kingdom Hearts began when a Square producer met a Disney executive in an elevator. Nomura later said the actual conversation was basically, hey, maybe we should do something together sometime. The full idea came later on. When Nomura actually met with Disney, they started presenting specific game ideas and characters they wanted Square to use. He stopped the presentation and told them he did not want to make those games. He pitched a new character, traveling through Disney worlds. In the first design document, Sora carried a weapon that looked like an enormous chainsaw. Disney was apparently speechless. I understand why the weapon became a key. A giant key is less alarming than sending a child into Wonderland with a huge chainsaw. Sora went through a lot of changes, but the basic idea stayed. This was going to be a new character who could move freely through Disney spaces. The problem was that Square mostly knew how to make RPGs. Nomura said very few people on the team had experience making an action game. He was a first-time director, Disney had to approve everything, and the staff sometimes panicked because they could no longer tell whether the game was fun. The movement still feels good even when the camera cannot keep up. The story was growing at the same time. In a translated interview from 2002, Nomura said that the early version was much simpler. Defeat Maleficent and finish the game. He was pushed then to aim for a level of story that people expected from Final Fantasy. So the mysteries grew. The original characters mattered more. Doors, hearts, darkness, connections between worlds. Kingdom Hearts feels like somebody started by wanting to run around like Mario, gained access to almost all of Disney, and then received a note that the story needed more emotional damage, and somehow they finished it. Before you run anywhere, Kingdom Hearts gives you one of the quietest little screens on the PS2. Sora is standing on a beach. The menu barely moves. You hear waves and a piano. That song in the background is dearly beloved, and it does a lot of work before you even press new game. The crossover sounds loud when you describe it, but the game opens quietly. The title screen feels lonely. Yoko Shimomura composed the soundtrack, and she later talked about being inspired by the sea imagery around Destiny Islands. The funny part is that Dearly Beloved was not written to become the series' titles music. Yoko had written it for an event in the game. The event was cut. Later, the team needed something temporary for the title screen, so she offered this short piece that no longer had a home. It fits so well that it became the front door to every Kingdom Hearts memory I have. It almost sounds too perfect for this game. A song that lost its original world found another one. On that big TV in the basement, I didn't know any of that development history. I just knew the menu made the room feel different. I could be stuck on one little island, but the music already sounded like I missed somewhere I had not reached. Once I finally reached Traverse Town, I started to see what had been waiting beyond the island. Sora wakes up alone in an alley at night. His island is gone. Donald and Goofy are somewhere else in town looking for the king. Leon and Yuffie are there. The accessory shop is run by Sid. 3 small ducks control most of the local economy. Nobody really stops to explain why the zoning arrangement was approved. It just feels normal. Traverse Town makes the whole arrangement feel ordinary. It has warm windows, dark blue streets, empty hotel rooms, the gizmo shop, and doors that make the districts feel more connected than they really are. The map is not enormous, but the town gives you reasons to circle in it. And the night never changes. Nomura said the game needed people to fill its original worlds. If every one of them had already been a brand new Kingdom Hearts character, the player would have no immediate connection to anybody. So he used Final Fantasy characters as guest stars. Traverse Town is where Sora finally meets Donald and Goofy. Leon, Yuffie, Sid, and Aerolith are already there. They all live under the same streetlights. The obvious childhood appeal was seeing Disney characters in a game. That alone was huge. I knew these movies. The Heartless and Giant Keyholes made no sense to me, but the Genie did. But the game did more than march the characters past you. You could move through their worlds. That mattered enough that the developers were careful about which movies they chose. Nomura said the main condition was the worlds could not overlap too much in feeling or atmosphere. Square staff spent months watching Disney material. Disney animators met with them for what they called chalk talks, helping the team understand how the characters moved. There were also rules. Donald and Goofy used a staff and shield because Disney would not let them carry swords. This does mean the company was comfortable with Goofy smashing a monster in the face with a dinner plate. The shape of that weapon was the concern. In Wonderland, one room changes depending on Sora's size. Furniture becomes a platform. Doors appear where doors should not be. It is confusing, but I suppose it is supposed to be. Deep Jungle is more physical. You climb through trees, swing on vines, cross a hippo lagoon, and reach the treehouse from Tarzan. This is where the movement idea and the actual camera system begin having a custodial dispute. I still like the attempt. The team wanted Disney worlds you could run through, not painted backgrounds. Sometimes that gives you a great jump through the canopy. Sometimes Sora falls because the branch and the camera have quietly entered a conspiracy. Then there is Halloween Town. Sora changes clothes, Donald becomes a mummy, Goofy has a screw through his head. The music twists into something that belongs to both the movie and Kingdom Hearts. Nomura said that Halloween Town was one of his favorite worlds in the first game. He wanted it to feel like a curveball. It still does, except now it seems almost too natural. Jack Skellington and Sora look like they were designed in different offices that shared a supply closet. Those three worlds do not feel like levels from the same template, even when the basic job is still fighting Heartless and chasing the next scene. Wonderland bends scale, deep jungles built around height and movement, Halloween Town changes the entire shape of the party. The game can be messy inside them. Directions are vague, rooms are repeated, some movie plots get compressed until everyone seems in a hurry. But as a kid, recognition did a lot of heavy lifting. I didn't need every conversation to make sense. Donald Duck was in my party. I could run around with Aladdin and swim next to Ariel. The game kept offering proof that the large world I imagined from Destiny Islands was real. Going back now, I understand why some people bounce off the first Kingdom Hearts. The camera is not a small problem. Sora can turn faster than it can. Walls confuse it, tight rooms make it panic. Platforming occasionally asks you to judge a jump through the visual language of the back of Sora's head. The navigation is not always much better. The characters tell you half of what they need. The next event might be in a room you already visited. If nothing happens, you leave, come back, and hope the story has clocked in. Combat starts simple too. Lock on, hit attack, repeat. Donald and Goofy help when their schedules allow. Some of this improves as Sora gains abilities. The air combat gets better, magic opens up, movement expands. Bosses ask for more than the first few groups of shadows. Some of it is rough. I do not want to pretend the camera creates atmosphere because it gets stuck behind a wall. The wall has not become mysterious, I just cannot see. But I also do not want to rewrite my memory of the controls because cleaner action games exist now. His shoes are enormous. His jump has weight. He reaches for ledges. Air attacks pull him toward enemies. The lock-on makes a young kid feel like he can take part in an action game without already being great at one. The developers were trying to join a platformer game, an action game, and a square RPG before most of the team had made anything like that. The rough parts are obvious when I play it now, but I still like moving around in it. Between the worlds, Kingdom Hearts makes you fly the Gummi Ship. I know, you just left a town containing Donald Duck and Squall Leonhart, but now it is time to assemble a spacecraft out of colorful blocks and play a slow rail shooter. Nomura loved toy building blocks. He had also been told that Final Fantasy works like a toy box, with many different kinds of fun packed together. So he carried that idea into Kingdom Hearts, and added ship construction plus a shooting game. The 2000 GameSpot review hated these sections. It called the construction system convoluted and basically wanted the flight to end as quickly as possible. That's kinda fair. As a kid, I would have opened the editor, moved one block, and immediately closed it. I would not want a whole game of it, but the next Disney World does not appear the second you select it. You have to fly there first. I came back to Kingdom Hearts in my teens, and this time I actually stuck with it. I spent real time in Traverse Town, I learned the combat instead of just swinging at whatever. I reached more of the Disney worlds, and I could finally follow what was happening. It still confuses me somewhat. I was older, not a wizard, but I could finally see the shape of it. Sora was looking for Raikou and Kairi. Donald and Goofy were looking for Mickey. The Heartless were consuming worlds. Every world had its own version of somebody losing their heart, their home, or both. The story was more serious than the crossover sounded, and nobody in it was embarrassed about that. Sora talks about friendship, light, darkness, and the heart, and he means every word. Donald gets angry. Goofy says something smarter than anyone expected. The Disney villains meet in the dark and plan their next move. There's humor, but the game never turns around and apologizes for putting these characters together. The sincerity mattered more when I came back. As a kid, Disney was the part I recognized. By the time I came back in my teens, I had played Final Fantasy games. I knew some of these characters now. I also started caring about this specific version of Sora, Donald, and Goofy. By the time the game reaches Hollow Bastion, the next Disney cameo is no longer the reason to keep going. I wanted them to find their way home. Hollow Bastion is beautiful and lonely. Water runs upward through the parts of the castle. Lifts move along the outside. Rooms connect in ways that make sense after you've already been lost in them. Beast is here, but the world does not feel borrowed from Beauty and the Beast. It feels like Kingdom Hearts. Then Riku takes the Keyblade. Donald and Goofy follow it because their mission was to stay with the key. Sora is left with a wooden sword again. Except there are no friendly island kids here. The weapon cannot hurt the Heartless. He keeps moving with the Beast anyway. Nomura said that this sequence was meant to show that Sora was not an all-powerful hero. He is a regular boy who can fight because of the Keyblade and because the friends he has with him. The game does not leave that idea in a cutscene. It takes the attack button away from you. This is one of the best moments in the game because it brings Sora back to the kid from Destiny Islands. No special weapon, no party, still walking towards his friends. Donald and Goofy eventually choose Sora over the mission. A moment later, the Keyblade comes back too. At the end, Sora and Kairi finally find each other. They still don't get to go home together. The worlds begin separating. They hold on as long as they can. Then their hands come apart. Sora promises he will return. Simple and Clean starts playing. Kairi is carried back to Destiny Islands as it reforms around her. She goes back into the cave and finds the drawing she and Sora made. Sora had added himself, giving her a fruit. Kairi adds one, going back to him. That image stayed with me, even when large parts of the plot did not. I think that is why the first Kingdom Hearts still feels different from the giant series it became. Now I can look up every term, I can see where the story goes. I do not love the game less because I understand more of it, but understanding was never the first thing I loved. I loved the sound of the menu, running across the island, and arriving in Traverse Town at night to see Disney and Final Fantasy characters walking the same streets. For weeks, I barely went anywhere, and somehow the game still felt huge. Coming back in my teens finally showed me far more of what had been waiting beyond the raft. Hollow Bastion, the ending, and the version of Sora who keeps moving after the special weapon is gone. But the young version of me had already found Kingdom Hearts. The island came back, I came back too, and before I understood this game, I already knew exactly how it felt. That's all I have for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave any comments below. If you have any suggestions on videos, or if you just want to say anything, let me know. And if you enjoyed, like and subscribe. It really means a lot and helps me out. See you next time. Bye.